It's Wednesday, May 29th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On Barnstable Today, we learn how the new traffic patterns are changing on Ocean Street. It's not too late to register for kindergarten. We have your chance to help the Recreation Commission, and the first week of June brings back the CSOs to Hyannis Main Street. Now, for a look at municipal and legislative notes. The community service officers are returning to Main Street Hyannis for their fourth season. On June 3rd, 10 CSOs will report for 40 hours of training at the Barnstable Police Department. 7 young men and 3 young women will spend the week participating in physical training, as well as receiving instruction in topics such as CPR, first aid, Narcon, community policing, mental health first aid, and defensive tactics. These CSOs are scheduled to hit the streets in their unmistakable lime green shirts on Saturday, June 8th, and will remain through Labor Day. Stay tuned later in the show to learn more about the CSO program. Rideshare parking is now on Nantucket Street, and there is dedicated trolley, shuttle, and bus pickup and drop-off on the south end of Bismore Park. Liz Hartsgrove joins us for an update on the new safety changes on Ocean Street. Change is hard, we know, but changes to safety are really, really important. And I'm with Assistant Director of Planning and Development, Liz Hartsgrove, with just another update on Bismore Park and Ocean Street and ride sharing and parking at the ferry terminal for Highline. Liz, first weekend out there, obviously a big Memorial Day weekend was the start to our season. How did it go?
It went good, actually. As far as the team is concerned, we did everything that we were supposed to do. I'm really super proud of my team. We had police details down there. Even Yarmouth took a couple of details to help out. We had the parking resource officers, the pros down there in full force, helping out with educating people, and as well as the greeters fully staffed. So we really focused on that south lot of Bismore to make sure the public safety component of it, balancing all of the transportation demands down there as well as the operations of the harbor, and then also the economic development or economic components of it with the restaurants and the artist shanties and the walkways to the sea. So all of those things, our staff did an amazing job of really trying to keep everyone safe and moving in the right direction. So now it's a matter of retraining. Like you said, that change is hard, so we have to keep working on just informing people of the changes and that it's okay and it's for their safety and that it's actually much easier for them now.
Right. So let's talk a little bit, we'll recap some of those changes specifically to rideshare. It has proliferated over the last couple of years. One of the easiest ways to get to and from places is an Uber or a Lyft or some other type of rideshare, but they're the ones who are coming and going and not quite where they're going. They're Nantucket Street now is where they're going?
Yeah, we've actually dedicated a nice safe area for them to wait. Instead of waiting in a paid parking space at Bismore Park, where it's really challenging for them to pull in and out of a space and unload. It's so much easier now that the passengers can walk right off the boat and cross at a crosswalk and walk to Nantucket Street and find their rideshare waiting for them there. As of right now, we're really discouraging people from parking in the Ocean Street lot or the Ocean Street parking spaces. That is perpendicular to traffic, so it is not safe at all. It's really primarily for people who are parking from 1 to 6 hours. It's not meant for 15 or even 5-minute parking.
Right. And then your shuttle buses and some of the larger vehicles down there also have their own area as well. And again, all for safety.
It is. It's all for safety, but again, those are dedicated spaces for the large capacity vehicles. Right. So when a school bus or a shuttle or even the trolley, the RTA trolley is now working on weekends. And so those are for large capacity number of people coming, offloading and boarding onto those vehicles. And we have had some issues this weekend where Uber or the ride shares, even personal vehicles, will occupy that space because they see it available, and we can see the large vehicles coming down the road, and we're like, oh my gosh, no, 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 you need to get into a space. So it's a matter, again, of educating and retraining people.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can the general public help? I know that, you know, if you're going over to Nantucket or you're coming back from the islands, you know, there's folks out there that are renting houses and hotels. How can the general public help get this change effective down there?
That's a great question. So they need to be familiar with it. They need to understand and read the press releases. If they can't figure it out, call me, and that'll actually be a good sign for me that I need to do a better job of communicating out and getting it an easier format for people to understand. But if it is in a good format that they easily can understand, my suggestion is to print it out, make copies of it, display it in your rental, get it to the people that are occupying your bed, you know, your bed and breakfast, or your guests that are coming, like my family members. If they want to go down to the harbor, I'm going to have to show them, okay, and advise them correctly. We're here to set everyone up for success, and everybody should know that those changes have been made, and we are managing it now. So we have a full staff that is going to protect the safety of the area.
Right. And let's just reiterate as well, is that if you have a physical challenge,
Yes.
or a disability, that there is spots there for you in
Yes.
Highline's own lot.
That's correct. And Highline is accepting passengers. It's not that we're saying no. We're saying no on the town property, because
Right.
that's not what it was meant for. It's meant to balance the economic components of it as well as the harbor activity. Well, our town purchased that property for the whole community, not for depending on one particular entity of demand. So Highline, that's their job, that is their business, that is literally their business, is to accept passengers departing and arriving. So we are instructing people to utilize their lot, and it's a nice, safe off-road location that they can actually pull in, unload, or load their passengers. So.
Right, and they have shuttles to all of their parking now.
They do, and it's multiple shuttles. And
Right.
so, and that was another reason why we actually carved out a space on Ocean Street for those shuttles. You know, this past weekend, even Friday and Saturday, we saw 4 or 5 shuttles every time a ferry came in or was about to leave. So that's a lot of movement in that lot. So again, nice, safe location for passengers to wait, and it worked perfectly. The large capacity vehicles worked excellent this weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
What's that address for the website so they can print out those documents and look at the maps?
Sure, it's within the Planning and Development website, and it's the parking division, and we have the press release section for it.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Liz.
Thanks, Paula.
Are you new to the area or have a child ready for kindergarten? Channel 18 went out to Centerville Elementary to talk with school officials about registering for school. It's the most wonderful time of the year, sort of. We're almost at, or registration is open for kindergarten right now. And I wanted to take some time today and really talk about getting a 5-year-old into kindergarten. It's not your kindergarten of old, of the old days. So let's start with you, Mr. Principal. What do parents need to know about, number one, getting their child ready for kindergarten? Are they ready?
We have a range of students that come to us with varying abilities at kindergarten. Some students come to us with preschool experience. Some students come to us with no preschool experience. I think some of the biggest things that we want to see in our children are parents who have been reading to their children before they start school, so that they're familiar with books and they're into literature and they're excited about learning from reading. Encouraging children to play with each other and have a nice friendship prior to coming to school with other children, giving them that opportunity to learn how to share and engage with other students is also very important as well.
And he brought up a really good point, Dr. Hurley. The social emotional learning, this is embedded throughout the Barnstable Public School system now. A lot of the things that he just spoke about were really literally social emotional learning facilities. These are what these kids are doing in these schools now. Give us a little understanding of how that rolls out in kindergarten.
Sure. So the district vision is to educate the whole child. So it's not just the academic piece, but it is the social emotional piece. And from kindergarten forward, we start with a universal curriculum. So our kindergarten students will be receiving second step curriculum, which teaches social competencies, self-awareness, decision-making, social awareness, and we build upon that every year as they go from kindergarten on up. So it's really treated like a community where you come in, you start your day as a group, you end your day as a group, you're respectful to each other. We teach responsibility and safety throughout the day in different locations. And that gets, like I said earlier, that is built upon in every grade as we move through the grade levels in Barnstable.
Let's talk a little bit about the day, a life in the day of a kindergartner. Do they still do things with paste and markers?
Absolutely, absolutely. So kindergarten is a little bit different from what it was when I went through school. There are more academics blended in, but I would like to say that we also build in, a lot of social emotional and learning to play and learning to manipulate and use glue and cut and all of that is still there. But I think, you start the day with the morning meeting, and I would like to echo that really sets the tone, especially at the beginning of the year, for developing friendships, and that's how the children learn each other's names. And then they learn to play and engage in activities together during the morning meeting. So it really does set that stage for how do we get along with each other, how do we make sure our friends are included. And then you would move into, in Centerville, we tend to have our literacy block as the first part of the day. They're fresh, they're ready to learn. And we would have a kindergarten assistant and a teacher in the classroom for the literacy block, and there might be, if we have some students who are bilingual, there might be an English language development teacher who comes and supports in that classroom. We tend to operate with centers, so we would have a whole class lesson with a big book, and then they would go into centers where at one center they might be working on letter sounds, another center they might be cutting and pasting, and then there would be a center where a teacher is doing literacy with the students and in small groups, so they really get some individualized instruction. We break up the day with a nice lunch recess block. Here we come back and we have our math block right after lunch, followed by maybe some small group interventions, a little bit of free play, and then we end the day with specialists, which could consist of art, music, PE, health, and library and technology.
That's a full day
It's a full
for a
day.
5-year-old. So Barnstable's had full day kindergarten for a number of years now. What do you find that, some parents are very leery of, that's a really long day for a kid, but it seems like it's fairly structured and there's time for everything, right?
Yes.
So when you are out there, open registration right now, why should parents get kids registered now if it's not until September when they have to go to school?
I'll let you answer
You want me to
that.
get that? So for me, it's important to register your child sooner rather than later. Right now, we are setting up our kindergarten screening appointments in May, and we want to get as many students in so we can lay eyes on them. And it's important because we can see what skills they have. There's a nice kindergarten screener that we use. In addition, we have set up stations in our gymnasium where students interact with the teachers and they engage in some play, and we start to get a sense for the skills that students have, and it helps us really formulate the best class list as we possibly can. Kindergarten is kind of like playing poker when you're assembling those lists, whereas when you're making class lists for first grade, second grade, third grade, you've had that opportunity to really know the child. So for me, to set the stage for success for the fall, we really like to see where the children are at. Do they have good play skills with each other? Are they able to share? Do they have some literacy skills? Do they understand shapes? It's really helpful for us to help develop our class lists.
What do parents do or guardians do when they have questions about registration?
So my first line of defense here at Centerville in our help would be our school administrative assistants. I mean, they really do have the knowledge to answer questions about registration steps. When you go through the process, you can set up an appointment to come in and they'll review the documents. The school nurse would be here to take a look at any medical paperwork you have to best advise you. You know, like Dr. Hurley did say, you know, it gives you that first go round of making sure you have everything you need and giving you plenty of time, you know, based on the consultation with them to get what you need.
Right. What are some of the resources that the district provides for that registration process?
So our best resource is the website. And on our district website, there's a registration section that has frequently asked questions. So I think almost every question that we've had posed by a parent, we have put on that website.
What else do you want parents to know before we close today about the first day of school?
So our first day of school in Barnstable it's not a full day of school for kindergartners. We set up our orientation meetings for the first day of school, so the parents come to school with their child. And it's at that point that we answer questions about how do I pay for lunch? How much snack should I pack for my child? How do we do dismissal here at Centerville or any of the other schools? It's an opportunity to really review the ebb and flow of the school for the parents. While we're meeting with the parents as a front office team, the teachers take the children to the classroom so that when they do come without their parents that next day, they know where their classroom is, they know where their hook is. They've had a little time to socialize with each other, and we even set up a small recess for them on that orientation day where they go outside with the assistants and they spend some time playing on the equipment and really getting to know what does it look like when we make a line. You know, so all of that happens during the orientation process.
Anything else you would like to add?
I always like this time of year. I like to meet our incoming students, and it's an exciting time to see some new students getting ready to come through the doors of this school, and they all bring a different kind of energy. Every group that comes through, they're always different, but it's exciting for us as a school to meet our new students.
And Paula, one thing that I would mention is that although right now we don't have any school choice slots available for kindergarten because we are waiting for our resident K students to register, if there are residents of other towns that are considering kindergarten for their child under school choice, we will have more information in August about whether we have slots available for non-Barnstable residents.
Excellent. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Phase 1 brought improvements to our sports fields, tennis courts, beaches, and community recreation areas. This comes directly from seeing conditions firsthand. Join the Recreation Commission on the tours across villages and help share Phase 2's course of work.
Yeah, we're really excited to, based on some of the successes we've had coming from Phase 1, this being quite a jewel of that. We also have Lopes Field in Hyannis, some of the beaches that were done, Craigville Beach, Veterans Park. We have several tennis courts that were redone. So we're really excited about how Phase 1 came out. Really a lot of the successes that we've had, and as such we're really looking forward to Phase 2 of seeing some of our facilities that really weren't as we didn't point at them as being critical for Phase 1, but I think we've moved them right up to the importance of Phase 2. So some of the things you'll see Bay Lane Fields in Centerville need some refurbishing. Some of the Marston's Mills, the continuance of the Osterville Bay School over there, continue work on those, and some of the other beaches. Some of the other beaches need our attention too. So we're going to be looking closely at things that we need to prioritize in Phase 2. We have advertised where we're going to be going on our tours, and we welcome, as in phase one, we really welcome the public's support and actually coming out and being with us on the tours. We had a lot of enthusiastic people in phase one, and we welcome those people coming. So go online, you can find out on the town's website the full tour schedule. And again, starting Monday afternoon, we're going to be going out to Katuitt. So again, we look forward to the public's insight, feedback, and we're ready to go. I think I just welcome the opportunity. As I said before, this was just a great, start, and ribbon cutting, and Town of Barnstable is really dedicated to our recreation of all ages in the town of Barnstable, and we look forward to good things to come.
You have seen the fluorescent shirts walking the summer beat around downtown Hyannis and the harbor since 2015. The Barnstable Police Department's community service officers provide a visible, easily identifiable presence on Main Street and the surrounding area. The CSOs act as liaisons between the businesses, tourists, and residents. The additional presence also helps quell some of the less desirable behaviors of individuals in the area. In that way, the CSOs supplement the Community Impact Unit.
For us, the goal of the CSO program is to have a second set of eyes and ears for the police department, and it's very focused on community policing. So the CSOs are out there, they're interacting with residents, tourists, business owners, and with our homeless population that we have here in downtown Hyannis. They do a foot patrol around the Main Street area. They give information back to the police department. They give information back to the Community Impact Unit as far as which individuals that are homeless are in particular need. And then I take that information and we try to address it with our outreach team. The visibility is really an important piece, and I think it makes people feel much more comfortable. So even though they are civilians, they're not sworn officers, they don't have any powers of arrest, but they represent the police department, and people feel more secure having more of a police presence around. They definitely make a huge difference. If there's any undesirable behavior going on, they take care of it, and all they have is their communication skills and their presence, and so we're very selective in who we choose for these assignments because it's important that they be able to accomplish the goal with just those limited skills.
Always had a lot of interest in the Barnstable community and Barnstable Police Department, so I thought it was a really good opportunity to be able to interact firsthand with the community and get to know it better. I think a lot of the stuff you get is, like I said, the first-hand experience. A lot of the individuals we deal with out here, have certain issues, whether it's mental health or, substance abuse, and, being able to communicate with them effectively is, I don't think necessarily something you can learn in school, but it's something that you can, gain knowledge through work through this job.
So they have a week-long training that Sergeant Allen puts together for them. It's an excellent week of training, and one of the days is an 8-hour mental health first aid course. I've been teaching that to them, usually with Sergeant Sturgis, for the last 3 years since we've had the program. And the mental health first aid class, what it is it's an 8-hour course, and it's essentially like first aid for dealing with somebody that's in a mental health or a substance abuse crisis. It's not teaching anybody how to diagnose somebody's mental illness or substance abuse issues, but it's helping them to identify when somebody's in a mental health crisis or, a substance abuse crisis, and the different types of mental illness they might come across while they're out on the streets working the job, how to de-escalate the situation, how to interact with somebody that's in a crisis, and then the different alternatives, the different responses. Usually what they're going to do is they're either going to call the station or they're going to reach out to me and tell me what they have going on if it gets to a point that it's beyond something that they can handle in the moment.
We get a lot of, obviously we're part of the community impact unit, and through that we got a week-long training, which includes mental health and things like that. But I think it's important to get out here. I think that we're still all training, being out here, and you don't get the real-life training until you're out here on the streets, walking and dealing with certain situations.
I think most importantly, it's been interacting with the community and, being able to get to know the community as a whole. It's definitely been worthwhile and a great experience so far.
The selection process is very stringent. I think the first year we had between 35 and 50 initial applicants. The way that we start to wean it down is we just look at the applications themselves, and we can only choose interviews from the applications that are the best written, the most complete, don't have mistakes, that type of thing. So that's just a really easy process to start with, although it takes time. And then from there we do interviews, and the interviews are very heavily weighted in this process. So, there's also a background process. We're going to look at everybody's background. Not the same as we would look at a full-time police candidate, but it's still pretty stringent. But the interview process is very heavily weighted, and, we prefer to hire kids that are from our own community, but we will only take the best applicants. And when we have people from other communities that are stars, then we will take them.
I grew up in this town, graduated from Barnstable High School. So a lot of connections. I saw this job as an opportunity to work with the community and better myself for a future career in law enforcement. It definitely allows us to be out here and work with the community and different types of people, the tourists, the business owners around here, and obviously the homeless population as well. So get a diverse group, and working with the community is also just a great opportunity.
This is definitely one of the best parts of my job, and it's so rewarding. I love it. I love doing that mentor coach role. It feels very natural for me, and I'm incredibly proud of these kids. They never let me down. They always exceed my expectations, and I think this is a program that the town should really be proud of, and just aspire to continuing in the future.
Up next, things to do, places to go, and people to meet. The Hyannis Fire Department will be holding a Stop the Bleed class on June 1st from 11 to 12:30 at the fire station on School Street. The class covers basic life-saving skills that anyone can perform in an emergency to save a life. It is their goal to help create a safer community through public outreach programs such as this. The program is free to the public. Please contact EMS Officer Mike Medeiros at medeiros@hyannisfire.org to reserve a seat or with questions. Comments, suggestions, accolades, connect with us on Facebook, email us, or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works for you. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.